Welcome everyone to Train Tuesday. I am your host, Jim Wiggin, and so glad to have you on board. This is our first pre-recorded Train Tuesday of the year. We'll be doing pre-recorded Train Tuesdays until October, so there will not be a live stream tonight. However, that doesn't mean we don't read your comments. So if you like our video, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video like this drops into our channel. And comment below. We try to answer as many comments as possible, and we do like hearing from you. Now, on this Train Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the Athearn Genesis GP40-2 and a couple of its variants. Now, these, at the time of this recording, are on their way, and they should be at hobby shops here in the next few weeks. It's even possible that by the time you're watching this video, you've already gotten a call from your dealer saying that they're in stock. But for right now, you can also look at the links in the video description below, which take you right to athearn.com, and that will also let you know if they're in stock or not. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with another Train Tuesday. Now, the GP40-2 is very common nowadays, but going back to the early 1970s, a lot of first-generation diesels were reaching the end of their service lives. One of the most common replacement locomotives was the EMD GP40-2. Now, EMD began production of the 16-cylinder turbocharged 3,000 horsepower locomotive in 1972. Now, these locomotives were developed for service where higher horsepower and faster service were preferable. A major feature for the GP40-2 was the introduction of the -2 modular electric cabinet. Well over 40 years have passed, and the GP40-2 has worked mainline freights, locals, switching jobs, yard service, and helper service, and a lot of these remain in service today. We're going to be talking about a wide range of eras as well as railroads, and again, these will be hitting dealer shelves quite soon. So let's go get started, and we're going to start by talking about some rather neat prime for grime Union Pacific versions. So these prime for grime, this is a 2000s era Union Pacific, and these are really cool. Now, we've got two road numbers for these, but let's talk a little bit about these. Now, two of the original three SP GP40P-2 survived past the UP-SP merger of 1996. However, by this time, their paint was pretty well worn and faded. They did end up in full UP repaint. However, for a while, they ran around just like this in this patch version you see here. Now, the locomotive you see on your screen right now is 1373, and it is former Southern Pacific 7601. And as you can see, it's prime for grime, so it's faded lettering, short EMD front ditch lights, roof-mounted bell, and a P3 horn on the long hood. Now, specific details for both of these Union Pacific models can be seen on that sidebar there, and you can also see more in the links in the description below, which takes you to the original new announcement PDF. Coming up next, 1375, another prime for grime patched version. Now, 1375 is a former Southern Pacific 7602, and it features the ghosted lettering and paint, tall EMD front ditch lights, frame-mounted bell, K3 horn on the long hood, and repainted battery box doors. These prime for grime locomotives are extremely popular, and these tend to sell out pretty quickly. So you're going to want to talk to your dealer if you didn't pre-order these. Now, both locomotives are going to have this patched paint scheme that you see here. These are the first 40-2, in this case 40P-2s, that we've offered with lit number boards in this series. This also has a 3,600-gallon fuel tank. You'll notice that the SP light package has been removed. You'll also notice it has a large front plow and a roof-mounted AC. Ditch lights on both ends, and look carefully, you have the modified front L window. Now, this is a late body with the removed class lights, so obviously the class lights do not operate on this locomotive. And also you have the steam generator equipment, which harkens back to its original purpose. Going back to 1994, we've got Southern Pacific, and here we kind of get an idea of what these locomotives look like in an earlier time. Now, by the mid-1980s, SP had discontinued their commute service in the Bay Area between San Jose and San Francisco, California, in favor for the newly organized Caltrain. Now, since new Caltrain power was purchased, SP in turn converted some of the older commute motive power to freight service. All three of the GP40P-2s were renumbered into 7600 to 7602, and they received larger fuel tanks and they had their steam generators removed. Still retaining their full front SP light package, these units received a rebuilt front cab window, which became pretty common practice during this time. Now, by 1994, only one unit was repainted into SP's speed lettering scheme 7600 as seen here. This unit would eventually be sold off and rebuilt by Indiana Harbor Belt, while the other two remained in UP's road switcher fleet. Now here you have 7600 with that speed lettering repaint. It also has a roof-mounted beacon, which is an effect that will work with the Tsunami 2 equipped locomotives. Front ditch lights, removed SP light package, and moved horn to the long hood. And we've got more to show you. We've got a different version of 7600. We've also got the 1985 to 1994 era 7600 with some slight differences. Now, those differences include the full SP front light package. And again, this is in full function, the red warning light and the gyro light. This works with the Tsunami 2 equipped models. You can also tell that the speed lettering here obviously is not included. It's the original SP font. We're also offering road number 7601, how it appeared in 1985. 7601 has the full SP front light package. And again, this is a package setup which includes the gyro light and the red warning light, which works with the Tsunami 2 equipped versions. Finally, we have 7602, again, 1985 era. And you'll see that this one here has the full front light package just like the other two. Now, as far as features among all of these SP locomotives, you can see here on the sidebar what they include. You have the lit number boards, which is an effect in the Tsunami 2 equipped versions. That being said, the DCC ready versions do include the LED lights for the number boards. That way you can hook them up to the decoder of your choice. These will have 3,600 gallon fuel tanks, large front plow, roof mounted AC and bell. They're going to have the P3 horn and the modified front L window. And again, these are late body, so the class lights have been removed and the steam generator as well. Going on to standard GP40-2s, we're going to start with CSX. Now, this is a model that we were constantly got requests for, and I'm happy to say that we have these coming in stock soon. Now, during the late 1980s, CSX Transportation modified many of their GP40-2s into slug mothers that powered an RDMT. Now, that's a CSX term for road mate road slugs. The slug is a term used for, in most cases, a secondary locomotive that has had removal of its prime mover but kept its traction motors. The mother unit at slow speeds can produce enough power to provide electrical current to other traction motors using the same amount of fuel consumption. Now, the mother and slug combination can provide the power of two locomotives using a single diesel-powered unit. Now, CSX liked the results, and they modified many of their older GP30s and GP35s into RDMT road slugs, retaining their cab controls so that they could still be operated in lead positions, but without the noise of the prime mover. Now, it should be said there is another manufacturer out there that has offered a GP30 slug. We wanted to go ahead and provide the slug mother. This has got all new tooling to include the interface between the slug mother and the slug. Now, the one that you see on your screen currently is 6427, and this is a stripe repaint, which features the regular radiator fans. This also has the mail slot battery box doors. Next is 6429. 6429 is considered the stealth repaint. It's got the regular radiator fans, and it also has regular battery box doors. We have one more stealth paint scheme for you as well, and that's 6441. Now 6441 again, that has a stealth repaint, the Q radiator fans, the mail slot battery box doors, as well as large exhaust silencer, and has a nose toilet hatch you can see there. Now all three of these are going to have some common details and features. Some of those features include the newly tooled rear slug connection boxes that we talked about. First time we've offered them with these models. These are based on a mid-production, so they have the corrugated grills, as you can see. And these also have the chassis/CSX style front rock plows. Now, these do have lit class numbers and number boards. These are both effects that will work with the Tsunami 2 equipped versions. However, LEDs are included in the DCC ready versions, again, ready for you to hook up to the decoder of your choice. You also have the body mounted side bell and the K5 horn. Here's another one that was highly requested, the DT&I, or the Detroit, Toledo, and Ironton. Now, DT&I's last locomotive order was for GP40-2's number 422 to 425 in late 1979. They were painted in their new Bright Star logo, and they were built for high-speed TOFC service. Now, notable DT&I options included the xenon beacon, the nose-mounted bell, and the non-dynamic brake hatch. Now, it's interesting to note that GP40-2 number 407 was part of the original order back in 1972. However, after it was being repaired from a wreck in 1979, it was repainted into the New Star scheme and put back into service. And here it is here. This is DTI number 407, freshly repainted after its accident. This has the earlier wire grills. It has the small EMD plow. You'll notice the bell is painted orange, and it has a small front anti-climber. On top of 407, we're offering two other DT&I locos, but from the later order. These are from the late 70s order. Here we have 422. This is the last batch of locomotives that DT&I would order, and these have the corrugated grills, newly tooled xenon beacon with bracket that you can see there. That's brand new tooling. Large EMD plow. You'll notice its bell is painted silver, and a large front anti-climber. Now on top of 422, we're also offering 424. Again, this is 1979 era into the 80s. And 424 is, again, part of that last package of GP40-2s that DT&I ordered. It too has the corrugated grills, the newly tooled xenon beacon with brackets, something we've never offered with these before. Large EMD plow, silver bell, large front anti-climber. Now, all three of these locomotives are going to follow along with the same features and details. And that includes, this is the last paint scheme that DT&I applied to these locomotives. That brand new tooling can be seen above the cab, and that's the xenon beacon. Now, that effect works with the Tsunami 2 equipped locomotives. Also kind of neat to DT&I, there's extra nose grab irons, firecracker antenna. There's also extra jacking pads. These will include lit number boards and class lights. Again, a function that works with the Tsunami 2 equipped. However, the lights, LED lights, are there for you to plug into your decoder of your choice if you get the DCC ready version. These also feature the nose-mounted bell, the M3 horn, front plow, and of course, non-dynamic brake hatch. Here's a really colorful one that went over really well when we announced it, and this is the Ontario Northland. Now, Ontario Northland Railway is operated by Ontario Northland Transportation Commission, and it's part of the Government of Ontario, Canada. Now, these were purchased in 2005, and they found their way from former Boston and Maine GP40-2s, and they were subsequently repainted into this bright and vibrant scheme. Now, a few kept their nose class lights after the rebuild, and this is where the Genesis really helps out. Not all of them kept those, so we'll see some of those in a moment. Now, the units have been operating in both freight and passenger service since then. Now, the one that you see here on your screen is Ontario Northland 2200. This is former Boston and Maine 311, and you'll notice on the nose it still has its class lights. However, when we move to the next unit in our list, which is 2201, you'll notice right away that one is absent of class lights. This is former Boston and Maine 300. We've got one more, and this one's rather unique. This is for 2202. 2202 is former Boston and Maine 304, but it kept only its nose class lights. So there's no class lights on the long hood. So these are really interesting locomotives. Got some neat details, even though on the first glance they look like they're all the same. These are appropriate between the 2005 to 2012 era. And again, these are going to have, between the three of them, some standard details, including non-dynamic hatch, side-mounted hood bell. These have Blomberg M trucks, front and rear ditch lights, large front anti-climber, and lit number boards and class lights that function with the Tsunami 2. Corrugated grills, M3 horn on the long hood, large fuel tank, and small EMD front plow. Now we're going to move along and start talking about some of the GMD GP40-2Ls. And we're going to start with Quebec Gatineau Railway. Now, the Quebec Gatineau Railway operates the former CP line between Quebec City and Gatineau in Quebec. The line was acquired by Genesee and Wyoming back in 1997. At one time, the railroad had operated 3 GMD GP40-2L locomotives of Canadian national heritage, although one of them suffered a wreck in 2005 and has since been used as a part source for other units. Here we've got unit number 3014, and it has a weed cutter rear plow. Can't really see it in that picture, but that's what's going to separate it from its stablemate, which is 3016, as seen here. You'll also see there's a little bit of a difference in the font between the two locomotives. Now, 3016 has the standard EMD medium rear plow. Now, between these two locomotives, there's some other details that are different between the two, mainly in the paint and application of their numbers. But this is the first time in Genesis that we've offered the Quebec Gatineau Railway in our lineup. Now, these will also include the Nathan K3 horn with airline, as you can see there. Road number fonts, plows, horns, antennas, other small details will vary between the two road numbers. And this is cool. If you buy the DC only, DCC ready, both the red and the clear lights, classification lights will operate. However, if you have the Tsunami 2 equipped, the red and white as well as the green lights will function with different function buttons in DCC mode. Staying with the GP40-2L and kind of coming from my neck of the woods, we've got Guilford Rail Systems. Now, if you're not familiar, Guilford was founded in 1981. Guilford Transportation Industries looked to form a railroad company by acquiring some of the various bankrupt roads that were in the Northeast. Now, the Maine Central was acquired first, followed by the Boston and Maine, and then the Delaware and Hudson. Now, the Guilford roster was a veritable rolling museum featuring such oddities as Maine Central, U-18Bs, and former Santa Fe SD-26s, as well as former Norfolk Western, former ITC SD-39s. Now, some of the more reliable units on the roster were a group of former Canadian National GP40-2Ls, and they were numbered in the 500 series and acquired in the early 2000s. Now, interesting to note that since then, The Guilford name has ceased to exist, it being replaced in 2006 by Pan Am Railways, and most recently CSX. Yet some of these Guilford painted GP40-2Ls continue in service wearing their 20-plus-year-old paint jobs. Kind of cool. And these are the really great looking units, and they've got some neat features too. Now we've got 3 different road names, road numbers that we are offering in this run, and they are all Maine Central. The first one you see here is 510. Here's 514 and 518. Interesting to note, 518 has the American flag on the cab where the other 2 do not. Kind of a neat little spotting feature. These are all going to have the Nathan K3L horn with airline. They're going to have Blomberg M trucks, operating ditch lights, cab-mounted AC. They also have the red and white class lights, which will operate with the DC locomotives. If you get the DCC Tsunami 2 equipped versions, you'll have the white, the red, as well as the green, again, available in operation with different functions. You're also going to get 2 Sinclair antennas and high MU stands. So if you're modeling 2005 until just as CSX is taking over, so pretty much present day, you can probably add one of these to your roster. And then finally, trigger warning. Yes, we did do some legendary liveries, but this was actually based on feedback that we got from our product suggestion email. We had a lot of folks asking for these, and so we figured, you know what, let's go ahead and offer these. Now, Athearn's recent release of several Maine Central models in the past few years, the team has received a lot of requests to offer a Maine Central GP40-2L in the Legendary Livery Series. Now, the Maine Central was a highly regarded railroad with an attractive paint scheme and has developed a loyal following over the years. Now, many Maine Central fans missed the railroad after the takeover by Guilford, but Athearn has a perfect solution now. Presented as though the Maine Central had remained independent, operating entity into the 1980s, these Harvest Gold GP40-2Ls will look right at home, hauling freight from South Portland to Bangor and points east. So, a little bit of a stretch, not too big of a stretch, but would have been really neat to see these painted in this paint scheme, maybe versus the Guilford, or maybe you're a fan of the Guilford paint. Doesn't matter, we've got both for you. Here we've got Maine Central 270, and we're also going to offer 277. Now these have Nathan K3 horns, Blomberg M trucks. We do have ditch lights on here for you. And again, the same with the classification lights. If you get the DCC ready versions, the red and white classification lights will function. If you get the Tsunami 2 equipped, you get the addition of the green classification light. 2 Sinclair antennas, and of course, high MU stands. So like I said, these are going to be at your dealer soon. You may be watching this video a couple of weeks later and they're at your dealer now. Either way, if you're interested about any of these GP40-2 models from Athearn Genesis, you can select the link in the description below and find out more information about these models as well as in stock. That way you can contact your dealer with the item number of the locomotive that you want to purchase. Well, that's all I got for you on this Train Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed this show. Like I said, give us a like. Hit the notification bell. That way you're notified every time a new video like this drops into the feed. And give us a like. Drop a comment below. I try to answer as many comments as possible. And for more information on these GP40-2s, please select the link in the video description below. Until next time, everyone, I hope everyone out there does some modeling, does some good modeling, works on the layout a little bit, maybe get some rail fanning done. And until next time, everyone, high greens.